Hello, Bravo bosses. This is the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I'm your host, Dana. And today on our Monday Reality Roundup, we are talking about Vanderpump Rules, The Real Housewives of Beverly Hills, The Valley, and The Real Housewives of Atlanta. Let's get into it. Happy Monday, everyone. I hope everyone had a great weekend and are looking forward to the start of the week. I am excited for Monday, which is a weird thing to be excited for, but I'm just excited to start the week. That being said, I'm really stressed about Wednesday of this week, because I have a work call that I already know is going to go badly. It's someone who's already mad at me, and I've done everything I can to sort of prepare myself for this conversation, but I already know it's going to be contentious. So I've spent a good portion of the weekend ruminating over this, stressing over this, being highly anxious about it. So I didn't really get to enjoy my weekend as much as I had hoped, but that is on me. I got to do more things to work on my anxiety, like, I don't know, cut out caffeine. I definitely have to cut out caffeine. But yeah, me as a highly anxious person, I sometimes get in my head about things that are kind of small. In my head, I make it like it's the biggest thing ever, but I'm sure it'll go well, I hope. Also, in a couple of weeks, or no, like a week and a half, I'm going to New York and I'm really excited about that. I'm going for a friend's wedding, but I also want to just do like all the things while I'm there. Like, I have plans with a bunch of other content creator friends. I want to go to Soft Bar. I want to be in the Watch What Happens Live audience. So there's so much I want to do. I'm so excited. It's the city. It's the big city. So I was like, I might as well go for a few days. But don't worry about episodes. Don't worry your pretty little heads. I will have a full repertoire of episodes for you guys that week, so you shouldn't have to worry. This week on the Bravo Investigator Podcast, here is what we have. We have today our Monday Reality Roundup, as per usual, which is a roundup of all of the reality TV news, not just Bravo. Today is just Bravo, but we cover other things like Love is Blind, Love Island, Secret Lives of Mormon Wives, other things. And then on Wednesday this week, we are going to be doing the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls Trip. I will be having the Above Deck podcast ladies on. I love those ladies. They're my friends, so that's going to be a great one. Then on Thursday, you guys will have a recap of episodes 5 and 6 of House of Stassi. So there are 8 episodes total. So this is my third recap, episodes 5 and 6 together. And then the following Thursday will be episodes 7 and 8. And then on Friday, I should be able to get you a recap of the Valley Reunion Part 2, which is going to air this week. And then this weekend, Saturday, this coming weekend, I will have a Married at First Sight episode with an amazing guest as well. So lots of stuff going on the Bravo Investigator Podcast. I am super busy. It's so crazy that I have a full-time job and I'm pumping out like 4 or 5 podcast episodes a week, but that's probably why I have no life. But I am living my dream, which is all that matters. So let's get into our topics today, because they are a doozy. So as we all know, well, let's start with Vanderpump Rules. Let's start there. As we all know, Tom Sandoval and his girlfriend Victoria Lee Robinson broke up recently, and there was a lot that was going on with them, where Tom had pushed her dad into a lit fire pit, which was on video. They were trying to get restraining orders against each other. It's just been crazy, and I was really hoping it would just sort of go away and die down, but no. And he's not letting it go either, right? Like, that's part of the problem. Like, when you just have two people who are so combative at each other and won't just like move on and let it go, and especially people who are in the media space, it just becomes like a media frenzy, right? So like, this is sort of starting to become reminiscent of Taylor, Frankie Paul, and Dakota, where like every other day there was something in the news about them talking shit about each other. So this is basically what that is. So we see this headline that says, Tom Sandoval claims ex degraded him with tiny penis insult, kicked him in the groin during alleged assault. Now, some would say all press is good press, right? Even if it's about your tiny penis. But it's very confusing to me that he decided to put this out there, right? He's saying that she has made degrading comments about his dick, but she hasn't said that out loud. He is saying that out loud. So I'm going to read you guys this article from page 6. This is wild. So it says, Tom Sandoval detailed Victoria Lee Robinson's alleged attack on him, claiming she degraded the reality TV star with a tiny penis insult, physically assaulted him, and more last year. According to court documents obtained by Page Six, the Vanderpump Rules alum alleged that his ex assaulted him in Florida in October 2025 while he was touring with his band, Tom Sandoval and the Most Extras. After my concert ended, respondent kicked me repeatedly in the groin area while hurling expletives and insults towards me in the presence of my bandmates, tour crew, and fans, the doc filed Monday states. Oh no, not in front of the fans. Either or earlier that evening, Robinson had consumed drugs and alcohol to the point that venue security personnel had to physically carry her from the concert venue back to the tour bus because she was unable to walk on her own, Sandoval claimed in the filing. Once the show ended, the former reality star 43 said that he was outside the tour bus interacting with fans and playing the trumpet for them. He so would. He so would play the trumpet for fans in a parking lot. When I returned to the tour bus to check on Robinson, she kicked my groin area with her legs and yelled insults such as, "You have a fucking tiny penis. Fuck you," he claimed in the docs. The physical assault occurred both inside and outside the tour bus. Members of my band and tour crew, including my backup vocalist and band manager, intervened and physically separated Robinson from me, Sandoval said. The former Trader star also included separate incidents of Robinson allegedly showing instances of coercive control. In June 2025, Sandoval claimed Robinson, 34, called his phone more than 20 times to complain or argue regarding matters unrelated to him and his band's audition on America's Got Talent. The constant calls left me stressed and overwhelmed and adversely affected my performance. By the time I performed, I was frazzled, anxious, and had difficulty focusing, the doc state. Sandoval also alleged that Robinson, whom he began dating in 2023, threatened to ruin my life if I left her. Page Six has reached out to Robinson for comment, but did not immediately hear back. In June, Robinson was arrested after allegedly brutally attacking the former Bravo celebrity. At the time, Sandoval alleged he got into an altercation with Robinson's dad, Will, before she allegedly punched the musician in the face, injuring his neck and ear. Following the alleged attack, both Robinson and her father were kicked out of Sandoval's Los Angeles home after dual temporary restraining orders were granted. A day later, footage surfaced of Sandoval pushing Will into a lit fire pit. Will subsequently filed for a temporary counter restraining order against the former Bravo star. However, the temporary request was denied. So it sounds like their relationship wasn't great. We heard this, right, while they were dating. We heard this from Billie Lee. We heard her talk about how Victoria would just like kind of show up out of nowhere when Billie would come over to Sandoval's house, meaning she was like down the street, and she'd just keep running into the house, calling a million times, doing all of this. So it sort of sounds like this was always their relationship. And you sort of have to take some ownership for that, Tom, right? Like, if you weren't happy with how this was going this whole time, I don't know, right? And it sucks because, obviously we saw them being completely chaotic and saw them as like not a great couple. But then like a year ago, I think they were on the Viall Files and they seemed so in love and so happy, and they were given the platform to sort of talk about the relationship from their perspective. And they sort of explained away a bunch of the things that we were sort of concerned about or things that we had heard about. And we thought, okay, good for them. They're happy. But this sounds like an extremely toxic relationship. And it's wild that Sandoval just stayed in something like this for so incredibly long. I mean, actually, that's not wild because it sort of sounds like he'll just stay in any relationship for any length of time, right? Because like it sort of sounded like he was never going to break up with Ariana at all. So I don't know. And the same thing happened with Kristen, right? Like he didn't break up with her forever because they were on the same like phone plan or something like that, and they had tickets to things. So I don't know why this took as long as it did, but that being said, these two people are clearly not meant to be together. They are toxic for each other. And, I kind of wish them both the best. They're both kind of like idiots, but, they deserve happiness. I do believe that. And I think Tom just really needs to figure out what it is that he's looking for because it seems that every relationship he's in has been very chaotic and he's not been happy in. And so maybe he needs to go to therapy and figure out like what can bring him true happiness because being in these like really chaotic relationships over and over and over again just shows kind of like a pattern. And maybe you got to look into that. So that's my advice to Tom. All right, let's move on to the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. So Denise Richards was on the Dumb Blonde podcast, which is with Bunny XO, which I believe is Jelly Roll's ex-wife. I've listened to this podcast a couple of times. It's a really good podcast. I don't really know her though, or Jelly Roll or anything like that. And it was a 2 hour long podcast. So I didn't watch the whole thing, but I watched just the part of Denise talking about Aaron. And so I just want to give you guys like sort of a synopsis of that part of the podcast, and then we can talk about it. So basically, they were actually together, her and Aaron, for 2 years before she saw any red flags, which is crazy, right? Like, that just shows like he was putting on a mask for such a long time. It's not like she went into this marriage being like, oh, I know he's abusive. She didn't because he was amazing for 2 years, right? No red flags. Then Aaron got his green card. So remember, he's from Canada and we don't want him back, right? But I'm just saying, like, that's where he's from. I think he's actually from Toronto. And so when he got his green card through being married to Denise, that's when things really shifted, she says. She said it was like a very slow burn. It would be like verbal abuse, and then it got to physical abuse. So the first time that he hit her, she was so shocked. He slapped her across the face, and this was actually in front of his cousin at work. Something had happened where they were getting in like this big fight at the office. And I guess the police were called by somebody else saying that there was some sort of disturbance. She, explained it all away to protect him. And then after the police left, he called her a fucking idiot. And then he took like the base part of the palm of his wrist and punched her in the eye with it. This man is just like absolutely diabolical and disgusting. She talks about sort of being stupid in this relationship where she put him as a signee on one of her accounts, but that was because she believed he was going to help her with her finances. That's what he said that he was going to do. And she also said that she stupidly didn't get a prenup and she will never do that again. She said that she's never going to get married again as well, but she definitely learned a lot from this relationship in terms of like trusting someone and the money of it all. He broke her down slowly, basically. The physical stuff started more and more. Then he decided to move his entire family into their house during COVID from Canada. So there was like 5 extra people, like a brother, his wife, Aaron's parents. And that's when he really seemed to shift into like a man that she did not know, which I can't even imagine, right? Like, can you imagine marrying someone and thinking that you know them and then they turn out to be like a completely different person? I'm sure that does happen all the time, right? But like, what a mind fuck. What an absolute mind fuck. So he would abuse her and then apologize and say that he was really stressed out about his family and like lots of things going on. And because he would keep apologizing, she would forgive him. Then he started taking money out of her account that she wasn't aware of. But again, she sort of trusted him because they were in a partnership and she just figured he was not doing it with like malintent or nefarious purposes. Then, so yeah, there was the whole thing with the cousin. And then there was like this plant that someone brought to the office. I didn't really understand this part of it, but there was like this plant, like a physical plant. And this was allegedly given to him by like someone he was cheating on Denise with, which she kind of details a bit later, but not that much. She basically said that he was cheating. She found out a whole bunch of women he was cheating on her with later, but the person who brought the plant was one of them. But he thought that there was like listening devices in the plant and he was going crazy and was like convinced that people were like listening in on them. And I always had a feeling about this because remember how crazy he would be about like the government. And like there was that one time they were driving in the car and he's like, I think that we're being followed because he believed that Big Pharma was like out to get him because he has discovered what he believes to be like the cure for cancer or something like that. So he feels like everyone is out to get him. And there was that like crazy dinner party at Kyle's where he's explaining what he does, right? And he talks about it as though he has cured cancer and he is like above medicine. But aside from that, no one is following you, man. No one is listening to you. Nobody cares. And so that's like a deep, what even is that, right? That's like a mental health issue that I don't even know how to diagnose, nor am I qualified to. But when you're like, when you're constantly paranoid and like you constantly think that people are listening to you and following you, you're unwell. Like you're unwell. That's point blank. And it's interesting that she didn't, when she says that she didn't see any red flags, that was a red flag for me. I never knew quite what it was, but he seemed to be like delusional about the fact that people were like listening to him and following him. And so it was just like really weird. Their normal started to become him like pushing her to the ground and hitting her. It became like all she knew. So every time they get in a fight, she sort of like expect it and wait for it. She knew it was wrong, but she didn't know how to leave because she was so beaten down. So that's what he ended up doing to her, right? Like just slowly, slowly, slowly beating her down and beating her down to the point where she just accepted this. Now, the most fucked up part is that his parents were living in the house. The family was living in the house, and they knew about all of this and did not stop it. Now, she does mention, or Bunny XO mentions, like, these kind of things can be not hereditary, but like generational or things like that. And she's like, yeah, I think that they were. So maybe the parents were also in an abusive relationship. And so to them that this was normal, but it's also so incredibly fucked up. He mostly would hit her when they were traveling or when they were at his office. So I guess when there was less witnesses. Um, and he actually has moved into a different girl's house, like right after their separation. And then she also found out that he was cheating with like a bunch of people, as I mentioned. But um, then she ended up like having to pay for rent at all of these different houses because they had like their house that they were renting. Then she like rented a separate house for like the family. Then she was also paying for his office. So she's paying for like several different homes for and like spaces for like him and his family, which is crazy. So then everything went awry when she had like this breast surgery. He was taking care of her and he ended up hitting her while she was on the toilet. And after that, she knew that he was just going to kill her because at that point, she's already so weak physically, right? She's literally just had surgery and he tries to beat the shit out of her, right? That's absolutely disgusting and diabolical. She's not that he's expecting her to fight back regardless, but like it's it's so much more disgusting when the person is like literally out of it and can't really comprehend what's going on. She was like literally vulnerable on the toilet, just had surgery, and you hit her, right? That's just fucked up. Then this all sort of came out of the fact that Erin had seen inappropriate texts that Denise was having with this guy that she worked with, if you want to call it, on special forces. Now, she says that she knows that she shouldn't have done that. And she knows that the fact that she was even sending these messages means that she knew that the relationship was over. But again, she still just didn't know how to get out of it, right? Erin asked her then, after like seeing those texts, if he lost her. And she's like, I can't stay in a marriage like this. And he's like, well, what would you need? And he's like, okay, well, to make this work, she's like, I need you to go to anger management. I need you to get your family out, and I need you to stop substances. She didn't clarify what substances he was on, which could sort of explain his delusion and paranoia, but we don't really know. She didn't detail that. It's interesting because she protected him in little respects, but not overall in the same way that she did with Charlie, because she has always, always, always protected Charlie because that is the father of her children. But in this situation, you just don't see her dealing with it the same way. So then July 4th weekend, things just got absolutely worse. That's when he ended up showing the texts to his dad. And then the dad was like yelling at her and all of this stuff. And she was like, okay, this is absolutely crazy. Now, she says that she's never cheated and that she's an extremely loyal person. She knows that she shouldn't have sent those messages, but she never actually crossed the line and never saw the guy. So, like, they filmed Special Forces together, but she never, like, got together with him after the fact. They never, like, had sex or went to dinner or anything like that. It was just inappropriate text messages. And in the text messages, she said, I cannot cross this line. 10 days after her facelift was July 4th. So she had the breast surgery and then she had the facelift. And that's when Erin decided to file for divorce. That was also when he hit her as well that weekend. And he texted her a bunch after the fact, trying to get back together with her, but she never spoke to him again. She said the worst part of all of this was the betrayal because he like sold pictures of her and stories and all of this stuff to like the Daily Mail. Then he like still won't sign the divorce papers and she had to get a permanent restraining order against him, right? So he's just making this just so much worse over and over and over again instead of just like letting it go. It's been a year, right? So I think that's why she was able to speak about it in such a calm and strong way. I mean, she's always been such a strong woman, but the way that she's able to talk about this in this podcast, I was just really impressed about because she talks about it as though it's not something that happened to her. It's almost as if she's telling a story. And just again, I think it's just like the innate strength that she has through all that she's dealt with. She said one of the hardest parts has been her daughter Eloise, who developed a really, really strong bond with him. She says that he never tried to adopt her, which is what he had kind of claimed on the show. And he has never tried to reach out to her or anything like that. And if he wasn't who he was, which is an extremely abusive person, she would like set up visitations and stuff, but he just disappeared from her life. And that's been really, really hard. So, it's interesting to hear her say it's not even necessarily the abuse that was the worst part. It's like the betrayal, it's like the family stuff, it's all of that. And I really feel for this woman. She has been through so much. She's been through so many horrible relationships that have almost broken her. And she stands here today as a strong woman and a mother of two who really is just doing the damn thing. So you gotta give her props for that. But it was just really upsetting to listen to this, honestly, but I was glad to get more information and glad that she was able to tell her truth and her story because so many women don't. So many women are afraid. And that's one thing that she mentioned, right? When she says that, like, people have come to her and said, well, why haven't you gone to the police? Or why didn't you go to the police earlier? Well, because when she called the police and then when the police came, her ex or her husband at the time punched her in the face, right? So that's what happened the last time the police were called. She can't trust for an absolute fact that he's going to be picked up and put in jail forever because if he's not picked up or he's released, then he's just going to come back and hit her again, right? So there's just so much fear that goes into reporting. And I'm so glad that she felt comfortable and safe to do it now and really speak her truth because again, so many women don't, right? And she's going to help so many people by telling her story. Okay, in other Real Housewives of Beverly Hills news, Amanda Frances has decided that she is one and done on the show. So, okay. I mean, you know, Rihanna told her not to do it. She's like, come back for another season. You can't just be a one season wonder. Come back. But you know what? I kind of don't blame her. It didn't really seem like a great experience for her. She didn't really seem to make any friends on the show. She was mostly attacked. And I'm not saying that it wasn't warranted. I don't even really remember the season that well because it really wasn't that great. But at the end of the day, like, if you don't find this to be something that's useful for you, then don't do it. But it's super rare that people choose not to come back to a housewife show. Usually you are not brought back or you are not invited back. So, it's a big decision, but it sort of seems like kind of reminiscent of this show. There's a lot of one season wonders on this show. We had, I don't remember her name, right? Oh my God, what was that woman's name? Okay, Anne Marie Wiley. That's not the one I'm forgetting, but I'm forgetting the one who would lick her lips a lot. And she didn't come to the reunion because she was sick. She was always sick. I don't remember her name, but the one who was with Kim Kardashian the night that she was robbed. Who else did we have as a one season wonder? I feel like there's just been a few, right? And, like I said, last season wasn't great. Hopefully they can get the shit together this season and maybe do some recasting. I don't even know what it is that they need to do to necessarily make this show better, but because it's one of our like staple shows, like it's the Real Housewives of Beverly Hills. It's our favorite. But in recent years, it has really gone downhill. And yeah, I guess they need a big casting shakeup. But at the same time, we are so resistant to change. And that's why they only bring on like one or two people at a time to help us like slowly get used to it. But yeah, we didn't like Amanda. She wasn't for us. She wasn't for the cast either. So best of luck to Amanda and being rich as fuck and whatever else she has going on. But I won't be following her journey after this, and I will have forgotten that she existed. Okay, let's move on to the Valley, and we're going to start with Brittany's sit down with people because obviously in recent weeks we heard that Jax Taylor is now dating his publicist, Lori Krebs. This was confirmed by him on his Instagram account, and which we talked about last week when he did that Smart Water ad and he wrote in the comments like I'm taken and I'm very happy or something like that. So Brittany has been talking about wanting to tell her truth. So she did a sit down with people. I wasn't able to watch the video of it, which was apparently pretty long, and there was like a lot of clips. So I saw some of the clips going around, but I wasn't able to watch the video because I wasn't able to get the People app in Canada. God damn it, Canada. You make it really difficult for us to get, reality TV stuff. But I will read you guys the People article because it definitely gives us the gist of what Brittany was trying to say. So the People article says, Brittany Cartwright breaks silence on ex-Jax Taylor and her former publicist's shocking romance, and then in quotes, snakes. Okay. As the Valley star, Brittany Cartwright settles into a chair in the foyer of her Los Angeles home on July 29th to speak for the first time about her ex-Jax Taylor's relationship with her now former publicist, Lori Krebs. She makes a confession. I'm really nervous. I'm shaking, Cartwright says. I mean, this person was not only my publicist, she was like a sister to me for 10 years, she says of Krebs. It's just complete betrayal. On July 13th, photos of Taylor, 47, and Krebs, 43, cozying up at a Hotel Musai in Puerto Vallarta, Mexico, appeared on TMZ. Cartwright, 37, filed for divorce from Taylor in 2024 and shares son Cruz 5 with him. Cartwright and Taylor were first introduced to Krebs a decade ago through their mutual manager, Ryan Revel. Revel still works with Cartwright, but fired Taylor in May. Krebs was there with Cartwright through every milestone of her career, which started on Bravo's Vanderpump Rules, alongside Taylor from 2015 to 2020. She was also by her side when The Valley premiered in 2024. There probably wasn't a time where I was doing press in New York and Watch What Happens Live with Andy Cohen that Lori wasn't there with me, says Cartwright, and I've done that 20 times over my career on Bravo. Just as their professional relationship grew, so did their friendship. I mean, we've been to Mexico, the Bahamas, you name it, Cartwright said. She helped me plan my 2019 wedding to Jax. Krebs was also there for Cartwright in her darkest moments, including the night she says Taylor almost broke my legs 2 days before we started filming The Valley. She was there, holding me, seeing how shaken up my son was, she says. I mean, this person guided me through my horrible divorce, guided me through all the Airbnbs I was living in after Jax and I split, and would come to my house and let me cry on her shoulder after I had been physically, emotionally, and financially abused by this man. She knows every in and out of everything in my life, and she still chose to sleep with the enemy, basically. Both Taylor and Krebs, in separate statements from their attorneys, vigorously refute Cartwright's version of events. In a statement to People, Taylor's attorney, Mark Vincent Kaplan, denies Cartwright's claims that Taylor physically harmed her. We know this. He admitted to it. What are we even talking about? Cartwright has not filed official reports alleging abuse. About 2 hours before the Mexico photos were released on TMZ, Cartwright says she got a heads-up text from Krebs saying that she knows this news is going to be incredibly shocking and painful for her. I understand that you will feel betrayed by this, especially because I was there during one of the hardest times of your life, Krebs began, per Cartwright, who read the text message aloud to People. I cared very much about you and Cruz then, and I still very much do. None of that care or support was ever insincere. According to Cartwright, Krebs said that she will never excuse the way Jax treated her, but over time, her relationship with him changed. Over the past several months, we became much closer, Krebs said per Cartwright. I know one of your first questions will be about the timeline. Cartwright said that Krebs then addressed the past rumblings that something had happened between her and Jax, saying, when you asked me about the rumors, I told you they weren't true, and I will always stand by that. I understand you may not believe what I'm saying to you, but I'm telling you truthfully that this only developed in the past few months, Krebs said per Cartwright. I wanted to tell you sooner, but I struggle a lot with how to handle this. It's important that you know that professionally, I have never discussed your work, your business, your personal life, or our private conversations with him, and I never will. I know this will forever change how you see me, and I understand and accept that. I just feel like you deserve to hear this directly from me. Yeah, via a phone call, not a text. You've been friends for 10 years. You've traveled together. You have been like buddies. Like, it's not just a business relationship. It just wasn't. And that's just like what really bothers me about this too, to send a text 2 hours before the photos that you arranged to be leaked. Let's be real, right? Like Lori is a PR person. So she arranged for TMZ to do this point blank. And so to handle it in this way is just really, what's the word? What's the opposite of courageous? What's the word I'm looking for? Like it's the opposite of courageous. You guys know what I'm talking about. Okay. I wrote back to her, what do you mean your relationship changed? She recalls. Then I said something like, Lori, this is so disgusting. This is horrible. You're dead to me. She turned her phone off and we have not spoken since. What hurt Cartwright even worse than the photos was a July 15th TMZ story with a source saying that Taylor and Krebs bonded over their respective divorces and raising children on the autism spectrum. The TMZ story broke my heart, she says, knowing everything that I do for my son, knowing how hard this divorce has been on me, knowing everything that I have gone through. That's what you're going to say we bonded over? It's absolutely disgusting. Looking back, Cartwright says that there have been red flags regarding her friendship with Krebs. 2 years ago, Cartwright said Summer House alum Stephen McGee told her that Taylor confided in him that he'd slept with Lori. Okay, I believe this 100%, and we'll come back to this in a minute, but I believe this 100%. Then she says, I immediately called Lori and my ex, and they both denied everything and said that Stephen misheard or is making it up, she recalls. I believe Stephen in that Jax had told him that, but Jax is a well-known liar. I was thinking that because I had left him and was living in an Airbnb, he knew this would get back to me and hurt me. In a letter to People, Krebs' lawyer Michael Kernan said the allegation McGee was told 2 years ago that Jax had a relationship with my client is categorically false. No romantic relationship existed at that time. Any suggestion otherwise is simply untrue. At the time, Cartwright said that she was ready to fire Krebs, going so far as to remove Krebs' contact information from her Instagram bio. But then she says Krebs begged and pleaded to keep her job, says Cartwright. She says, "You're going to ruin my career. I have a family. You know how much they need me," Cartwright says. "She was tugging at my heartstrings, especially as a mother." Kernan denies that Krebs ever begged Brittany to remain a client. Cartwright says that Krebs also told her that she could be useful as she navigated her divorce from Taylor, as she had some pull over him. She said that she could stop him from going to the press and saying things if she worked for both of us, she said. She had access to his Instagram, his Twitter, his everything, so she could delete stuff. She could make sure he wasn't doing things. She was trying to flip it like it was in the best interest of me, and I believe that. I will say from personal experience, this is something that Lori told me as well. She said that it made the most sense because people were so weird about Lori and Ryan Rebel still working for Jax and Brittany together. They thought it was sort of like not supporting him, but like, yeah, in a way supporting him. And the way that Lori explained it to me was like, listen, us all working together keeps Brittany safe, okay? Because we can make sure that Jax isn't doing shady shit. We can control the situation. And because we're working with all of them, it's what's going to be best for them. And that made a lot of sense to me at the time, right? But it seems like she was giving Brittany the same story. Kernan said that at the time, Cartwright and Taylor's separation, everyone agreed jointly it was best for them to have the same publicist for messaging. He added that the suggestion that Krebs breached confidentiality or acted unethically is without merit. My client has always maintained strict confidentiality with respect to both clients. In recent months, Cartwright said that Taylor missed several of his scheduled custody visits with Cruz due to what he said were work commitments in Canada and Florida. She now believes that these were trips to visit Krebs, who lives in Canada and often stays at her parents' condo in Florida. I told Lori I think he has somebody in Florida because he keeps missing days and he's not helping me with anything, Cartwright recalls. All of a sudden, Lori went from constantly telling me every dirty detail about who Jax was talking to, saying Jax's lawyers reached out that we aren't telling to tell Brittany what's going on with him anymore. Kernan says that it was Cartwright who sought to discuss Jax's personal life, not Krebs. As for Taylor's missed visits with Cruz, Kernan said that Krebs is not privy to this happening, but she knows he has never missed anything with Cruz because of her. My client adores Cruz and would never let that happen. Cartwright says that while Krebs would push her to tell her everything about the upcoming Valley reunion where I was traveling, who I was dating, Taylor would message Cartwright on their co-parenting app, threatening and harassing her, saying he knows everything. He knew things about me that I did not tell him, she says. She was literally infiltrating my life, my marriage, my divorce, my custody, my career, everything. I don't know what would have happened if I would have let her go a long time ago. There has been so much bad press about me, and now I feel like she was sabotaging me quietly behind the scenes. I've never seen a snake like this before in my entire life. Krebs' lawyer said, "It is inaccurate to suggest that my client engaged in unethical dual representation and that Krebs has not represented Taylor for well over a year." In July 2024, Taylor underwent rehab for drug and alcohol addiction, and in May 2026, he publicly announced that he was 1.5 years sober. During his recovery, he was not actively working, promoting projects, or conducting media, leaving little, if any, public relations work to perform, Kernan says of Taylor. Any assistance my client provided during that period was as a longtime friend, coordinating recovery efforts and communications regarding treatment. Kernan also said Krebs represented Brittany only in a limited capacity and that she last paid her for booking services in May. That's not that long ago. Okay. Despite putting up boundaries with Krebs after feeling she'd become obsessed with her relationship with Taylor, Cartwright refutes reports that they were no longer close in recent months. Cartwright said that Krebs was in New York with her for press in April, and she invited Krebs over to her house on July 4th after learning she was in town through her Valley co-star Michelle Saini. She acted like she was going to come, and then she said that she was hanging out with her cousin instead. Cartwright said, "I know she had been with Jax the whole time. It's sick." Kernan said that Krebs and Cartwright were not close at all in recent months, and that it was not like they were friends and my client was getting invited to events. He framed Cartwright's 4th of July message as a casual invitation. Cartwright said that she had no idea about Taylor's Mexico trip, aside from him making a note months ago in the co-parenting app they used to communicate that he was going to have to miss a scheduled visit with Cruz because he was going to be out of town for his birthday. "Why would you ever miss that time with Cruz?" she asked. "My son is so beautiful, so wonderful, so authentic, and just the best thing that's ever happened to me. I can't even go a couple of days without seeing him." While Krebs was away with Taylor in Mexico, Cartwright said that she conducted press commitments alongside Bravo reps without Krebs present. She was asking the Bravo publicist to send her photos of me, telling me I'm beautiful and I did a great job and all this stuff, Cartwright said. Meanwhile, she was in Mexico with Jax. That's diabolical. That is diabolical. Krebs' lawyer describes the incident as a 2-second text exchange about confirming a guest experience, adding, "My client had continued to help Brittany while she was attempting to get Brittany to get another publicist." That I need clarification on, because did Brittany know that she was getting a new publicist? Like, what I believe should have happened is Lori should have had a face-to-face conversation with Brittany after their 10-year-long relationship, ending the client PR relationship, explaining why, explaining the Jax of it all, and then getting her a new publicist, right? Like blindsiding Brittany by sending her this text 2 hours before these TMZ photos come out in Mexico. And then on the back end, you're trying to get her another publicist. This should have all been figured out. That's what you should have given her at the very least. That's what you owed her in terms of being friends with her. Cartwright said that the hotel where Taylor and Krebs were photographed together is one that she and Taylor frequented during their relationship. Jax and I went at least 3 times when we filmed Vanderpump Rules there. She says it was our favorite resort that we went to together. She also contended that as a publicist, Krebs knew going to a public resort and hanging out all over him in a pool that this was going to come out. Yeah, she put it out. I think that she wanted that, she says. I have no idea why, but please take him, because he's not going to get any better for you than he was for me. Cartwright said that she thinks Taylor struck up a romance with Krebs because he needs a mommy. He wants someone to take care of him and every single thing for him, she says. I did that for 10 years, and once I stopped doing that, he relied heavily on Lori and Ryan for a lot of things. He and Lori have absolutely nothing in common, nothing other than my life, my divorce, my kid. Despite recent reports blaming Cartwright for delaying the divorce, she says, I've been begging for this divorce to be finalized. I have been trying for 2.5 years to get rid of this man, she says. Our divorce keeps getting pushed back because this man has been in rehab 4 times. He has been out of the state. I want this divorce done so bad. In Kaplan's statement, he alleges that Cartwright failed to produce any of the financial documents necessary to resolve this case at a recent settlement conference. I don't believe that at all. To those who criticize her for speaking out about Taylor because Cruz may one day learn what she said, Cartwright has a message. Stop blaming me for what his dad has done. Cruz will know what his dad has done because of his dad, she says. I'm sick of people blaming me. Blame the man who did the horrible things, not the woman who had to live through it. By being so open about what she went through during her split from Taylor, Cartwright says that she's heard from so many women about how she helped them leave toxic relationships. That gives me motivation and power, she says. And my son will know who his father is because of the things that his father has done on TV, in interviews, on Watch What Happens Live. It's not my place to protect Jax anymore. After the Mexico photos came out, Cartwright said that her Valley co-stars, Michelle, Kristen, Zack, Lala, Janet, and Jason all came over to her house to support her, and through filming of season 3 of The Valley. And though filming of season 3 of The Valley had already wrapped, the show picked up cameras to capture the moment. It's been so amazing to have such a support from all my friends, she says. My friends have been absolutely incredible. Cartwright says several of her friends have cut ties with Krebs personally and professionally, including Vanderpump Rules star Tom Schwartz. He let her go that day, she says, and Tom Schwartz is so Switzerland, and that should tell you everything that you need to know. Cartwright says it's going to take her time to heal, but she says she is keeping her head high. The snakes have been removed from my life, and now that they're out, I feel like things can only go up, she says. I don't know how I'm going to get through this, but I'm going to because I'm a strong-ass bitch, and my son deserves that, and he will never see me sad and upset. All right, let's get back to the Stephen McGee situation for a second. So Stephen McGee was on the first 2 seasons, I want to say, of Summer House, and he has been a friend to Brittany for some reason. I guess they've met through Bravo and they have been very, very close ever since. So think about the fact that, yes, Jax is a liar for sure, but at the same time, whenever he does something shady, he always tells someone. Like when he slept with Kristen, he told someone at the restaurant. I forget exactly who, but do you guys remember that? Whenever that was, like season 3, and there was that night where Katie Maloney got pissed drunk and she tells the rumor. And then the next day, we get to see the aftermath of that, because Christina Kelly was having a yard sale. And so it was Christina Kelly, Katie, and Stassi. And it was Katie who had said this to Stassi the night before when she was pissed drunk. And Katie's explaining herself, saying, like, I never told you about this before because it was a stupid rumor. I'd heard it from, like, this other girl, Katie. So Jax was telling people. And I remember that when this was brought to Lisa Vanderpump's attention, she was like, yeah, I heard that rumor too. Now, it's not Kristen spreading the rumor, right? It's absolutely not. She knew that she would be dead, buried underwater if Stassi were to find out about this. It was Jax, okay? It's always Jax. He can't keep a secret. So yes, he is a liar, but he also can't keep a secret. So if he does something bad, he tells at least one person. So I believe this to be true. I really do. I believe Stephen McGee. And it really puts things in perspective because Listen, I know that Lori is saying that this only developed in the last few months. I just want to give a personal story to kind of parallel this because I just feel like I'm seeing this in a bit of a different way. So, for example, my mom, who I don't speak to, is a narcissist. And when she was still with my dad said that she cheated on him with her best friend. This best friend is the person that she is now dating today. And my mom's explanation of it, allegedly, that I've heard through my sister, is that no, nothing had ever happened between them before. And it was actually my dad who was like putting the idea in her head because he kept asking her whether something was going on between them. And that's what put the idea in her head. And that's what pushed them together. And I'm like, what are the odds of that? I just really don't believe that. That doesn't make any sense. So you're seriously saying you were not attracted to this person, you had no feelings for this person while you were best friends for so long, only once your marriage officially ended, keep in mind my mom has cheated on him before, so she's not above it. Um, that's when you decide this person is like your person. Like it just doesn't feel likely, right? Like, yes, there's totally times where like several years later with someone in your life, you look at them differently. That's totally something that can happen. But I just don't believe that that's possible in this case. Because how is it possible, like Brittany said, like everyone has said, how is it possible that you know what you know about this man? You know things about him that even we don't know, and you've chosen to be with him. And what makes me so worried for her, honestly, like I know everyone's like upset with her, and so am I, right? But as someone who used to be her friend, I'm worried for her career because she spent 20 years building this career, and I know it's really important to her. And it seems crazy to me for her to ruin her career for a person that she's not going to end up with long term. She's just not. She's just not. Like, that's point blank. They don't even live in the same country. Okay. So, point blank, they are not going to end up like end game. They're not getting married. Okay. That's not happening. And I'm also just baffled at the fact that he was able to convince her of things. I mean, she knows he's a narcissist. So, like, but I guess he's so good at it. But that being said, she's known him 10 years. How do you know someone this long and all of their ins and outs and how fucked up they are, and then choose to be with them? And then it just makes you question that person's character, their sanity, so many different things. And I guess she probably didn't expect this many people were going to drop her. I'm really shocked that Tom Schwartz did. A lot of Bachelor people are saying really negative things about her online, like Rachel Lindsay. She said that Lori was always the kind of person who wanted to be in the spotlight. And if you think about it, like, I don't know the names of anybody else's publicist, right? Everybody knows who this woman is because she has sort of pushed herself a little bit into the limelight. I don't think there's necessarily anything wrong with becoming friends with your clients. Well, maybe there is, because maybe that's where lines end up becoming crossed, right? How can you truly, like, if you and Brittany are like besties, how can you truly make sure you are always doing what's in her best interest as a client as opposed to as a friend, right? And so I feel like those lines just got really blurred as well, right? If you're like best friends with all your clients, I don't know if that's like ethically sound necessarily. And it led to all of these situations. I feel like, if she had not developed this relationship with Brittany or maybe this entire group, they may all still have been willing to work with her because they just had like a standoff, not standoff, but like a arm's length relationship with her where it's just a working relationship. But because she developed such close bonds with people, they feel betrayed. You know what I mean? And so I don't know. This whole thing is absolutely insane. So then TMZ catches Jax outside of the gym. And when I say catches Jax, I mean Lori set this up, obviously. He even says in this interview, "Oh, I was wondering when you guys were going to find me." Dude, this was set up, right? And this is literally the day after Brittany's People interview. So they ask him, the TMZ guy asks him, what he thinks of Brittany's People interview. And he's just like, "Oh, it's a bunch of bullshit. She just won't let me be happy." But the really shocking part from like this talk was him saying that he and Lori are in love. He says, "I love her to death. I love her so much. My mental health has never been better. I love that woman." And the way he smiled, I mean, I, there was, for a second, I believed him for a second. And then I remembered this guy is a liar, a narcissist. He's not even capable of love. That's the thing. Narcissists are not capable of love, which Lori knows. So I just don't understand what it means to them when they say "I love you" to each other. So I ended up posting this TMZ clip of Jax talking all this shit. And basically everyone from the Valley cast jumped into the comments to comment on this. So we'll start with Janet. Janet commented, "Sorry, I've kept my mouth shut about this, but I just have to say Brittany never lies. And I've seen proof and have receipts of Jax canceling and missing his scheduled custody time multiple times. Jax should be so thankful that Brittany is Cruz's mother because she does everything for him, and it shows. Cruz is better than ever, and it's because of Brittany." And then Brittany also commented on the post and she wrote, "Ha, ha, 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 ha. Lori is really like, you rolling TMZ? You ready, Jax?" And action, basically meaning that Lori is the one behind the camera doing the TMZ interview. "This man hasn't changed even in the smallest way. This is embarrassing. Laugh, laugh, laugh emoji. Deaf staged. Laugh emoji. I'm crying. I need this laugh. LOL. Oh, Brittany." And then we have a little bit more from Zack. He says, "I might not have seen you in 10 months, but I've heard you through daily harassing texts sent to Britt. You are not a victim, and Britt isn't lying. She can show actual proof with every claim she made, but I just want to say this interview wasn't really about Jax, even though that's what he thinks. We all know he's terrible, and Britt could care less. What this is about is a professional PR person that is handling Britt's entire career and has been like family and has been guiding her through this divorce and sleeping with her ex. The absolute deplorable bottom dweller of a human you have to be to do something like that, but I'll elaborate on both of them more later." It's just so messy. It's just so incredibly messy. Something that she always said to me was, "I didn't sign up for this. I don't want to be a part of this." But you're putting yourself in it. You know what I mean? Like you've just made yourself part of the narrative by dating a reality star. So now you're in it. So I hope she's not making that same argument. Like I didn't ask for this and I didn't sign up for this because by you dating him, you have signed up for it, essentially, in my opinion, right? Like now your life is open for internet fodder in the same way that anyone Jax dates is, or anyone who's on reality TV, their significant others are, right? And so I don't know. I don't know. I'm curious what's going on with her business. I haven't reached out to her again. I don't think I'm going to. Um, but I'm very curious to see how long this lasts. I give it 3 months, maybe 3 months. We'll see. All right, let's get on to our last story of the day, which is the Real Housewives of Atlanta. And this is about Porsha and Simon Guobadia, her ex-husband. So we have an article from Us Weekly that says Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha Williams scores major win in divorce battle with ex Simon Guobadia. So we remember that they got divorced like a year ago. She met him through his ex-wife Fallon, and there was all of this contention as to whether there was cheating and this and that. This relationship did not last very long. This man has been married like a million times. But let's move on to their divorce battle in this article. So the article says the Real Housewives of Atlanta star Porsha Williams scored a major legal victory in her divorce from estranged husband Simon Guobadia. In court documents signed by a judge on Friday, August 7th, and obtained by us, a settlement agreement between the two parties has been certified. As part of this agreement, Guobadia 62 agrees to give up any and all right, title, interest, estate, claim, lien, or demand whatsoever in the couple's Fulton County, Georgia home to Williams 45. As part of the settlement, Guobadia agreed that Williams is owed $1,568,181.63 from the property's equity, in addition to handing over the title to a 2021 Rolls-Royce Ghost. The Bravo star, Williams retains the right to refinance or sell the Fulton County property without seeking Guobadia's approval. The Bravo star filed for divorce from Guobadia after 15 months of marriage in February 2024 and finalized the process in June 2025. During their extended divorce proceedings, Guobadia had been deported to Nigeria over alleged immigration violations. And this week's court ruling severed one of Williams and Guobadia's few remaining legal ties. Speaking to People in 2025, Williams opened up about the emotional toll of going through a lengthy divorce battle. You go through different stages, she said. You have that anger, you have that moment where you have to fight for your life in a court situation. And then towards the end, you have the clarity where you realize that you are still blessed. Your family is by our side, your child is protected, and there's a whole new life that you can start. At the time, Williams described herself as a true hopeless romantic and expressed her desire to one day fall in love again. "Once I decide to be with you, I dedicate everything to you," she says. "And Simon matched my energy. He's very warm. He loved spending time with me. We were freaking extra. If we wanted to fly out of the country every weekend or post on Instagram together about how much we loved each other, he was down. Porsha has since introduced her lady friend, Patrice Sway McKinney, on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, season 17. People have a lot to say about me being with a woman in the past, and it's like literally the worst kept secret, she joked in a confessional interview. Her co-star and longtime pal, Phaedra Parks, exclusively told us in April that she is fully supportive of Williams and McKinney's relationship. I think Sway is so sweet. She's just a gentle woman, Phaedra, 52 said. I just love it. And she just adores Porsha. And I think Porsha needs this type of love, someone that loves her unconditionally. The iconic Real Housewives of Atlanta star joked that she was the last one to know about the romance because she tries to mind her business. Well, you know what? I'm happy for Porsha, right? I feel like she's been through a lot. Like that first marriage we saw her in on TV with the ex-football player. I mean, like, he was super awful to her. And then she had Dennis and he cheated on her. And then this situation, right, with this guy, like having all of these immigration issues and being deported and like coming for her online over and over and over again over the past year during this divorce, right? So I'm happy for her that she's making some bank. But then Simon, after this came out, he posted on Instagram like black background, white wording. They forgot to mention they also inherited $8 million in debt and still got to pay me. Being debt-free is my flex. They also inherited $8 million in debt and still got to pay me. All right. I guess we need more information on that. So I guess he's saying he's $8 million in debt, which is not a flex, right? But he's saying I'm now debt-free because they need to pay it. I'm not sure why that is. And that also didn't come up in the article, right? It sounded like Porsha was going to be getting some money from Simon. So this guy's also kind of a liar. So I don't really know how much weight we need to put into the things that he says, but happy for Porsha that she's got a legal win. I think that that's great. All right, you guys, that is the end of the episode today. I hope that you enjoy it. I will see you back in a couple of days for the Real Housewives Ultimate Girls road trip, whatever it's called. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at The Bravo Investigator. Join the Facebook page, subscribe to the YouTube channel. And don't forget, you guys, I have a whole new podcast called All You Need Is You. It is a podcast about living your best solo life. They come out every other Saturday. It'll come out on this podcast feed for the Bravo Investigator podcast, but you can also download the show on its own podcast feed, meaning just go into Apple or Spotify, type into the search bar, All You Need Is You, and then you can follow the show, download the show, and listen to the show. Actually just had Sarah C. from the Vanderpump Rules Party podcast on All You Need Is You just this past Saturday. It was a really great episode to learn more about her single solo life and how she is living the best one. So I hope you guys take a listen to that as well. And I love you, BBs. I will see you next time. Thank you for listening to the Bravo Investigator podcast. You can follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and Threads at the Bravo Investigator. Please subscribe to my YouTube channel and join the Facebook page. If you enjoyed the show, please leave a 5-star review.